My name is Saara Lamberg and I'm a filmmaker. What made me get into film? God, that's a big question. I guess I love stories and I love people, and put those two things together. I think I started off as an actor actually. I was 7 years old and I was a tiny little brat, and my mother was an actor and she took me along to her theatre rehearsals, and I was just too annoying because I was 7 and I had all that energy, and the director decided let's just put her in the play to get rid of some of that energy. So I started off as a stage actor as a 7-year-old, and it just went from there. Film, I guess as a teenager I loved films, but it was never anything that I imagined I could ever be doing. It just didn't seem like one of those things that someone like me could be doing. And it came a lot later that I actually started getting that little interest, and it just built little by little, first by acting in films and then by gaining more skills as a crew member and learning about writing, about production, post-production, all of those things. I did a bit of journalism in between, so I did acting, then a bit of journalism, learned about cameras and radio and making film and all of those non-acting related things, simply because I couldn't get to study acting back in Finland where I'm from. It was like something like 0.14% of the applicants actually got into the theatre course, and there's pretty much just the one course you can do, and if you don't get onto that course then you can't do acting. So I went on to journalism, but that meant that I learned all those production skills that I didn't have before. And then I jumped from Finland to England as an exchange student. I went sort of a little bit around the route, like through back doors, and I got to study acting again, which was what I really wanted to be doing. But then put those two things together, so now I had gained those production skills from my radio and television studies in Finland, and then those acting skills obviously from my past, and then having studied acting as well in England, put those two together, and then I thought, maybe I can actually start thinking about making films myself. So I came to Australia about 10 years ago, and again started off as an actor because it's always easiest to get into films that way. So did lots and lots of short films here, and again kept gaining more skills about the production side of things. And about 7 years ago now, directed my first short film, directed about 5 short films, and then started venturing into my first feature, Innuendo. I suppose my first film would have been a short film. It was more of a dance video, really. I don't know what it was, really. It was just a performance piece called Perfect, I think it was. Yeah. So I was studying performance arts in England, and it was a very contemporary, very kind of cutting edge college where nothing traditional was done ever. Like everything was just cutting edge doesn't really even cover it. Like it was just things that you can't imagine, and I haven't really seen since I left that college. Like it was that different, and it was really inspiring. So it was like a dance video, but it was also a performance art piece. But I did film it, so I guess you would call it a film. Yeah, Perfect. I think it was 5 minutes. Yeah. There was movement, and I was naked, and there was roses, and there was blood and poetry, I think. It was very weird. I often get asked what my favorite film is, and for a filmmaker that's obviously an impossible question, but for me it actually isn't. I've always loved Happiness by Todd Solondz. That's my absolute favorite film. It just nails everything. The story, the characters, the performances. I've seen it probably about 4 times, and I still want to see it several more times just to learn more about filmmaking. Yeah, it's a beautiful film. It's very difficult to say only say 3 favorite filmmakers, but Jane Campion has been inspiring. Whatever you think about Woody Allen's personal life, his films are beautiful. Jim Jarmusch, a lot of that stuff is really inspiring. And Quentin Dupieux, Wrong is definitely one of my most... It's really like on that surreal art house area. It's certainly one of the highlights. There's many more, but you don't want to hear all of them.
You can't deny this. You don't hate this.
Stop it! You have to go.
What? Why?
Just go and never come back.
You don't mean that.
You have no idea.
I need to see you again.
No.
Why? Can I call you?
Sam, I'm your mother. My vision... Wow. I feel like someone else should answer that question for me. I think I work at this stage at least quite intuitively, and I guess I've been lucky enough to, while it's hard work to produce my own films, but lucky enough also to produce my own films to not have to compromise, and I have been able to work from that really authentic and organic place of where my intuition just tells me what is the right way to go, and I haven't had to explain my vision, I guess. Usually as a director you have to kind of like sell your vision to your producer before you even get to make the work, whereas I've just had it all in me and I've been able to just make the work. I suppose I'm always interested in psychological stuff. I'm interested in all the twisted stuff that we do to each other as human beings, just from all the conditioning and all the layers of humanity that we have within us. And I think most people still come from a place of goodness and want to be good people, but then all of those layers of life just add up to your personality, and sometimes you behave quite badly towards other people. And so I'm interested in all of those layers and where all of that behavior comes from. And I'm interested in exploring the stuff between good and bad, because I think too many mainstream films just see characters that are only good and only bad, and then there's this fight in between the good and bad and who's going to win, and of course the good is going to win, but the bad is going to have quite a few tries of winning. So that's really boring, because I think human beings are actually all of these shades of grey in between the good and bad, and everyone that's known as a good person still will do some bad things in their life, and vice versa. And so I guess my vision is to explore the grey shades in between the good and bad. Favorite film that I've made so far is my first feature film, Innuendo. Why is it my favorite? Well, because it's the only one that I've released. That's a simple answer. No, I think in many ways that film exceeded my expectations. First of all, I never imagined I would direct it or that I would produce it. I started writing it for myself as an actor. I always wanted to play the part of the leading character. But I thought, someone who's got more experience in directing and producing could potentially make it. And the film screenplay won an award in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, so that gave it a little bit of traction here, a little bit of interest here. It opened some doors for me to meet producers, people that have made big films, and that was really good. Just to get through those doors, just to see those people and just to get their insights was very valuable. Very quickly in that process, though, I realized that if one of those people was to produce it, it was going to be after years and years and years of waiting, because these people have lots of films on their slates, and I was a complete nobody. They wouldn't be interested. They were interested because of the screenplay, but I wasn't enough of a name to push it forward past any other projects they would already be working on. So I realized it was going to be years of waiting, and even then there was going to be no guarantees that it was ever going to get made. So in this process, I also talked with a few quite experienced directors, and one in particular, Jeffrey Wright, actually, the Romper Stomper director, gave me good advice that just think of it as an extended short film and go from there, because he knew at this stage that I had already directed short films. He was like, just do it, just do weekend here, weekend there, and just keep filming until you've got your material in the can. And it was so scary. It was a scary advice, but at the same time, yeah, I decided to do it. I gave myself a year of meeting with those producers, and I had decided if within that year I didn't have like a really, really concrete plan with one of those producers, I would go ahead and do it as a director, and that's exactly what happened. So then ended up being a writer, director, producer, and the lead actor. So of course, lots of jobs. I'm a workaholic, and I also had 200 wonderful people helping me, so I really didn't feel alone during the whole process. And somehow the being writer, director, producer for me, it just feels like an organic thing. Like it's just the creator of the story. And I guess I'm someone who finds practical things quite easy to organize. So from that point of view, the producing side of thing, I know some directors are just only about the art and only about, the fun stuff, because producing is really not fun, and it's not fun for me either, but I'm okay at it. I'm okay enough so that I was able to make that film, and now I'm now into my second feature film as well, producing. And yeah, so it's just the fact that I got it made, so that was the first achievement. And then beyond that, it's also fulfilled lots of expectations I didn't even know I had, such as getting into various different film festivals. It was even screened in Cannes 2 years ago as part of the Cinephiles selection there. It had a cinema run here at Cinema Nova for 2 weeks, which was amazing. It's been on Channel 9 Gem. That was like beyond wildest expectations. I thought maybe it would get onto, one of the smaller channels, but like major nationwide network, that was, did not expect that. So in many ways, and of course the critical feedback for me is even more important than all of that. The fact that I got so much good feedback from it just meant that I felt like I was on the right path as a filmmaker. It just got it's embarrassing for me to talk about it in a way, but in a way it also gives me the confidence to keep going. The fact that it got compared with some of the important art house names like Lanthimos and Lynch and Polanski, like it's just, for me, I would never compare it with those films, because I just see like I'm here, I'm like a little worm on the crown, and these guys are up here. But like, I guess also the fact that someone else can see that in the work for me means that at least I'm going in the right direction. So it's worth doing. So currently I am very, very soon releasing my second feature film, so Westermark Effect. I'm not allowed to say it, but it will be premiering in 2020 in a certain southern French festival in May. So let's just put it that way. So that will be really super cool. And also I'm in post-production of The Lies We Tell Ourselves. That's my third feature film. So I've shot that. I hope I've shot all of it, because I keep shooting more and I keep telling myself, stop shooting anymore. Because it's a different film. It didn't really have a script. It's been just kind of improvised along the way. So that's why it's difficult to kind of stop shooting. I just want to keep going. Yeah, and there's another film that I'm also editing. But so Westermark Effect is next one coming out 2020, and then after that, at some point, the lies we tell ourselves.
You were always their favourite, their little angel.
Travelling?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Finland.
It's near Switzerland, isn't it?
Sweden.
You lived in an orphanage.
It's more like a monastery. One of us had been born bad. Mutta kun sie et oo enää Jumalan kuva, kun sie maalaat kasvoa ja vaihdat tukkaa. I do modelling. You know, nude modelling? Is that what you want me to call you? Daddy.
There's just something quite not right about her.
Are you blinded by her? Completely and utterly enchanted.
You know, people can be deceitful.
There's been a terrible accident.
Not everyone is born to be an angel.
Biggest challenge that faces the film industry, I think, anywhere in the world is how audiences are changing, and not necessarily that people are changing, but their viewing habits are changing, and that just trickles down to every level. And I think it means that funding is harder and harder to get because people are paying less and less to see films. So they might be going to cinema less, they might be getting those films illegally and not paying for them online. I think just that's a worldwide problem and not just an Australia-wide problem. And I guess it's just I don't have an answer to it. There's a lot of more important people than me that don't have an answer to it. And I guess somehow we all just have to try and negotiate the ever-changing world and see how best to work with it and how to survive in it and how to still be able to make our films and get them out there to the audiences. I mean, in some ways it's a challenge, but in some ways obviously it's got opportunities in it as well. Like potentially it might be easier to get your film seen by many more people because of the online distribution, but then it's, I guess, how to reach those people. And yeah, the lack of funding, I think, again, any independent filmmakers will say that that's their biggest hurdle, and certainly I am one of those as well. In some ways, it's kind of sad to say that I'm so used to it now that I don't even expect to ever make any money of this, and I expect always to be poor and never to have a home or any of those things that normal people usually expect to have. But yeah, obviously I hope that will change one day, that someone will see my value and put some money into my work. That would be super nice. But but I think like Australia, that's just my problem. But I think Australia and worldwide, they're changing audiences and how people view films is a challenge. A good name for a production company is whatever you think a good name for a production company is. Whatever resonates with you, whatever you can remember. Perhaps it's a good bonus if other people can remember it easily as well, because that will just make them remember you and your work better. I think snappy is always good, something that makes you curious, something a bit different, something a bit edgy. Yeah, those things. I am in a fortunate position of being a writer-director and at this stage still a producer, so it means that I get to be very hands-on with my casting process, and casting process is one of my favorite things in filmmaking. I think it's because I love people, and actors are just beautiful people, as are crew members. Anyone that works in film, I just find are really passionate, and that passion just really speaks to me, and that's my language. The fact that you love your work so much that you come to set day after day, whether you get paid or not, it doesn't matter. We just love our work, and when you first audition an actor, I guess it's a little bit like a first date, you've never really seen this person before and you don't really know who they are, they don't know who you are, and it's kind of like this game. Perhaps for an actor it's a little bit more nerve-wracking though, because for me as a director, I guess it's a very fortunate position. I already have my job, so I just, yeah, I can see that it's much less fun for the actor, but I still try and make it fun for everyone in the audition. I try and make it a relaxing situation, and people have told me that they have had fun in my auditions, which is really good. I don't go with look. I don't even go with nationality, it turns out. So for Innuendo, for example, I had written a German woman's role, and I saw various different actors for it. Turns out that a French actor was the best part for it. And then I just went back and rewrote the role a little bit, and she got it. So, you know, I always go for the best performance, for the most authentic performance, rather than the look of the actor. And I think it's, well, for me personally, I think it's lazy if you just go with the look of the actor. And, you know, sometimes directors, I think, make wrong choices because they have had such a strong vision in their head before they go into casting, that they might find someone that matches that vision exactly, but isn't the best performer for the part. So I always try and go with the best performance. I find that there's 100 of little challenges along the way as you start making a film, and I'm not sure if any of them is bigger than the other. The obvious answer, I suppose, would be the funding, and certainly that's also been a challenge for me, the fact that I haven't been able to access any funding really for my films. It's really only been through crowdfunding and some small independent investments, but that's it. But that challenge just, you know, you can get around it. And in some ways I feel like no matter what the budget your film is, if you have that feeling that you don't have enough money, you're always going to have that feeling, whether your budget was 1,000 or 100,000 or 100 million. I think you're always going to feel like, if I just had that much more money, I could make a better film. So I rather try and look at it in a way of, how am I going to solve this problem? Now, obviously, I don't have the $1 million to do this scene, so how do I do it with $100? And then just try and look at it really practically. And usually, if you're clever and if you know your story well enough, you can usually find another way of saying the same thing or showing the same thing. And I guess it already comes in writing. You can already make those choices when you write your screenplay to make sure that you don't have anything that's going to be too expensive. So yeah, another challenge, I suppose, how to get the film out there. And that was definitely a big challenge for me with my first feature film, Innuendo, because I'd never done it before. So I just went out and it's one of those things that they don't really teach you at film school. I haven't met any film student that would tell me, oh yeah, there was a whole lecture on how to distribute films. I don't know why, because what are we supposed to do with our films after we finish them? But no one teaches you this stuff at film school. So yeah, I just went out to various different events and just asked advice from distributors, and went to film markets, and that way started, you know, having meetings with people like sales agents and distributors, and it was all very scary because I'd never done anything like it before, but I knew I had to do it if I wanted to get my film out there. And yeah, as a result of those meetings, I now have an American sales agent, I've got an Australian distributor, and yeah, I hope things will only build from here. Yeah, so I would say funding is one of the big challenges, and then distributing your film once you've made it. But I mean, everything in between, like the actual making of it, there's just so many little challenges along the way, and day by day, that's, you know, have the big picture in your mind, but still like just do the work day by day. That seems to be the only thing that works. The advice I would give to aspiring filmmakers is that listen to all the advice you get, but only accept the advice that helps you. And remember that everyone that does give you advice, whether they're a film lecturer at your film school or another filmmaker or your mother, they are only looking at it from their own limited perspective. No one in this industry has all the answers, And if they think they do, run. Something that I've learned, like higher and higher I've climbed, is that even people on top don't know. Everyone's guesstimating. Everyone's guesstimating about what do the audiences like, or is this film gonna work, or is this actor right for the part? And it's just guesstimating. And I think there's something really beautiful in that as well, and I guess that's what keeps us excited, that no one really does know. But I guess as an aspiring filmmaker, it's sometimes easy to think that someone else has got all the answers. But really, it's just a process of getting a little bit of advice here, a little bit of advice there, a little bit of advice there, and just then finding your own way through all that advice. And yeah, just even if you give your screenplay for someone to read, give it to 10 people, you get completely opposite opinions. Someone will tell you, this bit really doesn't work, you're gonna have to change it, and someone else will say, this is my favorite bit. So it's like, yeah, just I would always listen to all the advice, but just dispose of anything that doesn't work. Just let it go. I love work, wherever that work is. I don't mind. I'm not particularly, I don't feel like I'm really, God, this is going to sound so pompous, but like I don't feel like I belong anywhere apart from film, and I don't have really strong roots. Like I grew up in Finland and I studied in England. Now I've lived here for 10 years, and I could easily see myself. I have also been very lucky to travel a lot in my life, so I can see myself working anywhere if the work is right, if the film is right. I directed a Bollywood dance scene this year earlier. That was so random, but it was fun. In India. Yeah. So you know what? As I'm just gonna say it because it is the truth. That I'm just at home where work is, and it doesn't matter where that is. Watch my film Innuendo. You can see it on iTunes or Google Play, or via Umbrella, my distributor, through their website. And look out for Westmark Effect and The Lies We Tell Ourselves on Facebook.